The Lange 1 from Lange and Söhne is unquestionably an icon and has become a classic portrayal of Germany's premium watchmaking since its release in 1994. And in this video, I want to share 4 reasons why I think it's quite simply the perfect modern dress watch, in my opinion. Let's jump into it. So before we jump into this video, I do want to recommend, if you want more things Lange 1, this video is going to be more specifically about my kind of love letter to this watch. Of course, talking about it, reviewing it to some sort, but really giving these 4 reasons. If you want more, we have a comprehensive guide looking at the entire collection on our website. We'll have a link in the description down below, looking at the history of the model in more detail, looking at the totality of the collection, different variations, and everything you pretty much need to know beyond this video. So that's a nice extension of what we're going to be looking at here today. Also, if you love German watchmaking, I also would recommend checking out our Best of German Watchmaking article, looking at around 20 brands from Germany that should be on your list. So to begin with point number 1 for my claim, we have to discuss how this watch was essentially responsible for the storied resurgence of the brand during the 1990s. Now, the history of Lange exists in 2 distinct episodes over the course of 177 years. Founded by Ferdinand Adolf Lange in 1845 in Glashütte, Germany, the original Lange ceased to exist after the Soviet Union took over East Germany, with the modern ALS that we know today being revived in 1990 by Walter Lange, the great-grandson of Ferdinand Adolf Lange, with the help of revered watchmaking executive Gunter Blümlein. After 4 years of research and the largest investment by a single entity into Glashütte's economy after the German reunification, the brand unveiled its inaugural release of 4 new watches: the rectangular Cabaret, a statement-making tourbillon known as the Pour la Mérite, traditional Saxonia, and of course, the Lange 1. And while the 1999 release of the Datograph was their emphatic proclamation that the brand was here to stay heading into the 21st century, it is the Lange 1 that heralded the comeback both of Lange as a brand as well as Glashütte. Over the years, the Lange 1 has now spawned numerous variations and complications, all while never losing the plot and accomplishing the task of remaining close to the core design elements that make the watch the icon that it is. When trying to identify the entrancing magic of the Lange 1 design, I believe you have to appreciate its exercise of balancing a display of information with unimpeded eloquence, making that my point number 2. Using this pink gold Lange 1 as an example, it is important to remember that the watch is not large. At 38.5 millimeters across, 9.9 millimeters thick, and a 46.8 millimeter lug to lug when including the curved lugs that are soldered to the case, the Lange 1 is a watch that fits virtually any wrist while looking beautiful in almost every instance. Although with a smaller surface area to work with, there are needed tricks in order to make the dial come together without feeling cluttered. Yet with its use of negative space and its cohesive utilization of balancing each core dial element, it manages to take a concept of what some would call asymmetry and make it feel anything but. In the world of photography and art, there is a concept known as asymmetrical balance, which is the notion of pairing asymmetrical objects or things into a sole image in order to appear symmetrical or balanced. For example, Van Gogh's Starry Night. Despite their drastic differences in shape, the trees and the shining moon oppose one another, and within the frame, they help work in tandem to coexist in harmony. This same idea is unmistakable within the Lange 1, as every dial element has its corresponding point of balance in the design. The large dial on the left side equals the big dates and the sub-seconds and power reserve, even with the curvature of the text mirroring the curvature of the 12-hour display. The brand text follows the same rules, with the ALS marking positioned at 12, perfectly contrasting with the Doppelfederhaus and curvature of the sub-seconds mirroring the same distance as the brand word mark. This fastidious approach to design has never failed to be maintained, even when adding different complications. However, it still can sometimes go unnoticed upon first inspection. Yet our eyes that are used to a world that is rarely uniform find this unquestionably pleasing. Once you've managed to pry your eyes away from the dial, we can begin to discuss point number 3, traditional German watchmaking with refined fit and finish. Now, the case and feel of the Lange 1 on the wrist, as well as the presentation of the movement, are class leading for German watchmaking. Simply put, where many brands reach into ostentatious, broader case profiles as billboards for their watchmaking, the Lange 1 feels like it has nothing to prove. The case is, beyond being solid gold, subdued with a traditional shape, narrow rounded bezel, delicate facet architecture at the lugs, a traditional push-pull crown at 3, a rectangular date pusher at 10. Between its 20mm lugs, the Lange 1 utilizes a well-made alligator strap with a subtle padding that tapers to 18mm, terminating with a traditional pin buckle executed in the same 18-karat pink gold as the case. While the dial and case are certainly well executed, Lange's history of movement design, production, and finishing is as esteemed as any serial produced watch on the market. Viewed through a secondary sapphire exhibition caseback, the L121.1 is an excellent example of this very idea. Constructed from 368 individual components, with its central bridges and plates being produced from German silver, beating at 3 Hz or 21,600 vibrations per hour, this movement manages the hours and minutes, hacking seconds, as well as the oversized big date function made to emulate the clock above the stage of the Dresden Opera House, while also providing a power reserve indicator to track the watch's respectable 72 hours achieved with the help of its twin barrel system, as referenced by the Doppelfederhaus marked on the dial. Time setting is executed like any other watch at the crown second position, with the big date featuring an entrancing quick set function operated with the rectangular case pusher that is a joy to operate. There are a number of Lange models, including the Datograph Perpetual we recently looked at on the channel, that are an absolute feast for the eyes, offering a complex display of every imaginable finishing technique set against an almost overwhelming array of bridges, wheels, screws, chatons, levers, and jewels. And if a watch like the Datograph Perpetual is the maximal approach of Lange's movement finishing, the Lange 1, like the dial, is an expression of Germanic tradition while still delivering a well-finished package. The majority of the caliber is hidden behind a broad 3/4 plate that occupies the majority of the caseback, decorated with glashütte waves, gold-filled engraving, a slew of heat-tempered blued screw heads, and 8 eye-catching gold chatons with their respective visible jewels. At the left side, the balance cock and bridge for the escapement wheel pivot are neatly finished with anglage on their edge, with perlage visible at the base plate. As is Lange's custom, the balance cock is completely hand engraved in the brand style, with slight variations between individual examples depending upon the watchmaker, acting as a bit of a signature for an individual artisan that usually is reserved for exclusive independent watchmaking. Often neglected by high watchmaking brands, the accuracy of this caliber is also impressive in our tests. We tested this at 5 different positions with a daily rate of -1 to +1 seconds a day across those 5 different positions, putting a cherry on top of this caliber's ability to both offer function as well as beauty. And for my final point for why the Lange 1 is perhaps the best contemporary luxury dress watch, we have the fact that this watch is simply unmistakable and others can only try to follow it. More than simply coming to define the brand, the Lange 1 has represented a core aspect of German watchmaking and the industry as a whole, while also acting as a catalyst that helped recharge the region during the 1990s. When looking at luxury icons in the dress watch category, such as the Cartier Tank or the JLC Reverso, they all have something special that allows them to stand on their own, to be recognized from across the room among those in the know. However, unlike those watches that use their case silhouette as a way to be recognized, it is the unconventional layout of the dial of the Lange 1 that makes it unmistakable even from afar. And sure, there are alternatives that can try to recapture its entrancing nature, but for those that admire its novel composition, they're reminded of why this watch is aptly named, as there simply is only one. But all right, guys, that is my video looking at the Lange 1. I absolutely adore this watch, one of my favorite watches currently being produced. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that. Definitely helps out the channel and is further encouragement that maybe you want to see more content like this in the future. I know for certain people, covering a watch that is close to $40,000 is, of course, a crazy thing to look at. But I still think even if you can't look to own a watch, I still appreciate watches regardless of their price if they're doing something unique from a design perspective, perspective, a production perspective, manufacturing perspective that I think all of us as watch enthusiasts can appreciate. And the Lange one is certainly one of those watches. Also, definitely check out those articles as mentioned in the beginning of this video, both the Lange 1 definitive guide as well as that guide to German watchmaking. Also, definitely check out TeddyBaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.